Good afternoon, my fellow participants of online training, the second editions, organized by Career Service and Polytechnic Advancement Center, Novo Mali Polytechnic Zaria, in collaboration with International Institute of Online Education's National Center, Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria. Today is Tuesday, 18th of December 2025. We are once again back to our normal Thursday session, and today is the sixth session, which is going to discuss institutional AI, artificial intelligence policy. How can we assist our various institutions, organizations to come up with policies that will guide the utilizations, applications of this life-changing tool? As we are all aware, AI has come to stay, and we just have to learn how to live with it. And in doing so, there must be rules and regulations, there must be guidance by both the students, the lecturers, the researchers, the lawyers, the engineers, and so on and so forth, on how to apply this tool. We are expecting at the end of these sessions, our participants will now learn how to come up with a very standard policies which we are hoping the various organizations or institutions will adopt at the end of the day. And by doing so, we are contributing our own quota to the development of AI tools or AI knowledge in our various institutions. Without taking too much of our time, I will invite Dr. Nafisa Usman Shehu from Computer Engineering Department, Ahmadu University, Zaria, to take us through this very, very important aspects of AI utilizations. Doctor, once again, welcome.
Thank you very much for having me. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
As introduced by my brother, I'm Nafisa Shehu Usman, and I'm here on behalf of the International Institute of Online Education, Zaria, here in Ahmadu Bello University. And I'm very pleased to be here, honestly, and I am really honored for this invitation to speak, or is it to give this training on developing institutional policies for AI integration. And we're talking about this specifically looking at Nigerian higher education institutions. So today we will explore not just the technology, because I'm sure we have explored the technology of artificial intelligence previously. And then the last training, we talked about ethical considerations in AI usage in our institutions as well. So today we are going to look at how we as institutions can govern, how can we regulate, and how can we ethically integrate AI into our teaching, our research, learning, and in administrative work as well. So and by the end of this session, we should have a very clear understanding of how policies work, because I want to believe that not everybody knows or have an understanding of what policy is, know how it works, or how or what governance is.
Well, there's no sound. Hello, doctor. Hello. Hello, doctor. Hello.
I think network local out.
Okay. So participants, before she sort out the technical issue, please, I would like to use this opportunity to remind us that today's session is going to be the last for this year. We are going to close for the end of the year holiday from Saturday when the practical assignment for 3 is submitted. This to allow our colleagues, our friends and brothers, sisters as well, to have a very enjoyable Christmas and Boxing Day, as well as the new year that is coming, 2026. So we are not going to have sessions, that is our live sessions, till January the 8th. We have the 7th and then the 8th, sorry, the 9th January. And at the end, we are going to close the entire program. But within the break, we are going to be giving our end of the program project so that we can start. And by January the 7th, everybody is expected to submit the soft copy of the final project for this work, for this program. So hopefully by Monday, we are going to upload the template for end of the program project, which is going to consist of all that we have learned and discussed, we shared during the program, inshallah. So please, let's try and see, we use the opportunity to grab the maximum mark of 600 points. That is 600 marks attached to that program. So please, we are not going to entertain excuses after the submission. Then this one will now come and say, I this one, this one, that. We are very sorry, but we are trying to keep up with the time. We have a lot of schedule on our own parts. And that is why you see sometimes we are so rigid that we don't want to open the door of excuses. So this time around, we are reminding our brothers and sisters, the all participants, that uh, we have almost 2 to 3 weeks, sorry, 2 weeks to do at the end of the program project, inshallah. And then also, for those that meet us late during the program, we are going to be given some grace where we can be able to submit the project, so the end of the end of week one practical assignment as usual, so that you can be able to meet up with that. But for quiz, we don't have any plan to mount more or less like carry over, sorry to use that word, quiz. That one, there is no any room for it. But for practical assignment, not even the practical assignment 1, 2, also we are going to allow anybody that has already done it to submit it on or before the Christmas day, so that we can be able to assess and update our records. So thank you very much. Malanwa, is she back?
Oh, yes, I'm back. I'm so sorry. I don't know.
Okay,
Something happened to my system and it went off.
Subhanallah. Subhanallah. So you're welcome.
Thank you.
You carried on. You carried on.
Okay. Because of just what happened, I don't have the full slides for the class because I'm using another system now. It went off, it won't come up. I don't know what happened. I'll figure it out later.
Subhanallah.
So I think I only have like probably 13 slides from what I was working on earlier and not really today. But that's okay.
We
We'll figure
appreciate
it
it.
out. We'll,
Yeah,
we'll
inshallah.
figure it out. Inshallah. Well, okay, let me just share what I have. So, as I was saying, by the end of this session, we would be able to leave here with a clear understanding of how policies work in our institutions and what ethical use entails and practical steps to develop institutional policies that are legally compliant, contextually relevant, and are ethically sound. So I want to start with a very simple observation. As mentioned earlier by my brother, AI is already present in our universities. Students are using AI to draft their assignments. We, the lecturers, are using AI to help with our lecture notes, to help with assessments, and as administrators are also using it in scheduling, even the academic staffs, everybody is using it for scheduling, data analysis, and what have you. So whether we embrace it or not, it is shaping the academic environment. So the question we face is not even whether AI will be used in our institutions, but rather how can we guide the use of AI responsibly? And without a clear institutional policy, we kind of risk inconsistency in our systems. We risk academic misconducts. We risk losing our academic integrity. We risk legal challenges. We risk a lot of inconsistencies, confusions, and what have you. So to quote UNESCO, yes, I think I saw this quote in UNESCO where it says institutional governance and policy frameworks are essential to ensure that AI serves the educational mission, protects students, and upholds integrity. Let me repeat that one more time. This is something I got in UNESCO 2023, one of their newsletters. Yes, it's 2023 newsletters. It says institutional governance and policy frameworks are essential to ensure that AI serves the educational mission, protects students, and upholds integrity. That being said, I hope you can all see my screen.
Yeah, we are seeing.
Okay. So that being said, let's use a practical example. So we imagine a scenario which we are all familiar with, I'm sure. Myself as a lecturer, I use AI tools to generate assessment questions. And I'm sure a lot of us do that. Now, a student will now use generative AI like ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, and all that to write part of the assignment. That's the very assessment that I gave him, which I generated too with AI. He now goes back to use AI to write a part or even all of the assignment. Now, and then the lecturer I will now discover that some or the whole, because most of the time they just copy and paste. You look at his work and you know that this student's submission is AI generated. But there was no disclosure. If we remember in our last training, we actually mentioned for transparency, you need to mention when you use the help of AI to answer some of your questions. So now, without a clear policy, what happens in this situation? You cannot really tell the student that this is legally wrong, it's just morally wrong, but you cannot really tell the students that this is not acceptable just because you think AI did it. So conflicts arise because of things like this, and then you realize decisions are inconsistent sometimes, even if it's AI and the student is smart enough to prompt the AI well, in such a way that the AI now gives the answers to sound like the student. You will accept that assessment. And in a situation where another student uses the same AI, but it doesn't sound like him, you will not accept it. So like this creates inconsistency in our decisions, whether to accept or not, whether to grade, how to grade, and all of that. And then at the end of the day, both the lecturer and students are unsure of their responsibilities. So this is where institutional policies for integration are essential. And this training will help us understand policy fundamentals, that is, what policy is, how it functions in institutions, and how it differs from rules, regulations, guidelines, strategies, and frameworks. And these are all definitions, explanations that I found from a lot of UNESCO published books, and they are all open AI. I believe some of my slides, anyways, when I find the updated one, I will make sure to attach all the references I use in generating this training, inshallah. So they are all open. They are all open access. You can read, and you will be able to have a better understanding, because whatever we discussed today, I'm sure we cannot go in depth into understanding policies and governance. We can only touch the surface of this. Now, okay, another thing we'll be able to do is structures and how AI governance fits into familiar decision-making loops in our higher educational institutions, and then we'll be able to explore ethical AI adoption. We've talked about the ethical AI considerations. Now, today, inshallah, we'll talk about the ethical AI adoption, how we ensure responsible, transparent, and fair use of AI in teaching, research, and administrative tasks. We'll be able to contextualize this to Nigerian law, particularly the Nigerian Data Protection Act of 2023 and institutional realities. And then we'll translate all this into practical steps for policy development, stakeholder engagement, and implementation. Now, before we dive deeper, I would like to ask a few questions to make sure so that we'll make this, just to make this session interactive. How many of us have used AI in preparing course materials or lectures?
I do. I used to.
Yeah, I think the vast majority of us do that. And then how many of us have students who use AI to draft their assignments? This is a no-brainer. The answer is all of us, because students now don't do anything by themselves.
Yes, you're right, ma.
Yeah, and then we know that none of these universities have a clear guideline on AI use. So you cannot even prohibit a student from using AI, or you cannot tell a student that only maybe 15%, just like we do with plagiarism test, where 15% or 25% is accepted. 50% of AI use is acceptable in his work, because we don't have a clear guideline on AI use. So these questions will help us gauge where we are starting from, and also illustrate a key point That is, the majority of institutions in Nigeria are still in the early stages of AI policy development. This is exactly why we need structured frameworks and governance mechanisms. Now, the key messages I need us all to keep at the back of our minds is, we understand that AI is here to use, and policy is not about banning innovation. It is about providing clarity, fairness, and accountability. Ethics is central. Policies must ensure that AI supports learning. Ethics must ensure that, policies must ensure that AI supports research, it supports institutional trusts, it supports learning, and we have to make sure that it does not undermine any of this. Now, the local context, our local context matters when we're looking at frameworks for AI, use AI guidelines and all of that. Our local context matters, so that, because we need policies, our policies must align with Nigerian law, like the data protection law, and resource realities and institutional structures. So with that foundation in place, we'll now move into the second part of this training, that is the basics of policy. Now, the basics of policy, we need we'll unpack what a policy is, how it functions in universities, and why it is distinct, why it is different from other instruments like rules, regulations, guidelines. We'll also connect this to AI governance, showing these concepts, and we'll show how these concepts support responsible AI use in our institutions. Now that we have an understanding of why AI policy is important, we'll start talking about why AI policy matters. So a policy, we have to understand, is an official institutional statement that guides decisions, actions, and behaviors. An example of a policy is examination malpractice policies. We have policy, basically when you're writing exams, students are not allowed to go into the exams with their phones. Every student, even if a student is caught cheating, he still have the right to continue writing his exams, although this is not something that we all follow, but it is part of the policies of examination malpractice and all of that. So we have to understand, we have to set expectations for the community, our institution, to provide a framework for consistent decision-making. And importantly, a policy is designed to apply repeatedly over time and not just in a one-off situation. Now, I've given an example with the examination policy. We mentioned it specifies how exams are scheduled, the roles of invigilators, the handling of exam scripts, procedures for students with special needs or whatever, and then these policies ensure fairness. These policies are there because to ensure fairness and consistency across faculties. So similarly, an AI policy would specify where AI tools can be used in teaching, research, and administration, how users should disclose AI-generated context, and how decisions made with AI support are monitored. So think of a recent decision in your institution that caused confusion or conflict. Could a clear policy have prevented it? According to UNESCO's, I keep giving reference with UNESCO. According to UNESCO in 2021, I believe in their publication, AI and Education Guidance for Policymakers, that was a conference in Paris, 2021, say policies provide structured guidance to ensure alignment with institutional objectives and ethical standards. Now, Why are policies important? So policies are crucial because they ensure consistency. They protect individuals, they safeguard the institution, that is, they reduce legal, reputational, and operational risks, and they support accountability. I'll give you an example. If a student submits AI-assisted work, which they normally do without disclosure, a clear AI policy, if we have an AI policy in place, a very clear AI policy will outline the process of verification, the role of the lecturer, and any consequences. That is, this will help in avoiding any arbitrary judgment or conflict, because when we have these AI policies in place, you do not have to start thinking, going back and forth, how are you going to do this thing? It's black and white. It is what, like, you just need, all you have to do now is to give your judgment and there will be no any conflict. Now, it's important to clarify common misconceptions when it comes to policy. We have to understand what policy is not. A policy is not a punishment list. It's a purpose to guide and not to instill fear. It is not a list of punishments to punish people that are in the institution or even students that are using AI. It is not there to ban people, to stop people from using this thing. And a policy is not even, is also not a technical manual. A policy is not a technical manual. It tells what is expected, not how to use the AI software, but it will tell you what is expected when it comes to using AI. A policy is also not a ban on innovation. It is supposed to enable safe experimentation, safe use of this of innovation, and not to ban innovation. Now, we can look at an example. If we have a policy that is banning all AI use in assignments, it might seem simple, right? When we say we're banning all AI use in assignments, in assessments, in whatever, that might seem simple, but it really stifles it constricts, it limits opportunities for our students, and we really don't want to limit our opportunities. We're already way behind in the globally, we're already far behind. So we don't want to restrict our opportunities, and we don't want to restrict our opportunities in the use of innovations and all that. So instead, a responsibly used policy guides students on how to use AI without breaching integrity. Now, many institutions confuse these terms. Let's break it down. Where we have policy, rules, regulations, guideline, procedure, strategy, framework. I didn't include framework here, but let's understand this. Policy, it's a broad statement of intent and principles. So an example of a policy is when you're saying AI policy stating disclosure and responsible use requirements, not just AI, any other thing that you can think of. Now, a rule is compulsory standard or a restriction. Example also, we have students, when you say students must submit all AI-assisted assignments with disclosure, that's a rule and not a policy. Then we now have regulations. Regulations or they offer official enforcement of rules, and they are often legal. They are legally enforced. And we see this in example where if we have Senate regulation on plagiarism, where it is said, was it 25%, 15%, or 25%? I really can't remember the exact percentage that is acceptable. And these are backed by the National Universities Commission. I don't know if polytechnics are under NUC, right? And then another term that we need to make a distinction of is guideline, and these are just recommended best practices. They are just suggested steps for verifying, let's say, AI-generated contents in assignments, just suggested steps. Like when we're looking at example in research with plagiarism test and all the steps that is required in verifying plagiarism and all that is maybe to use Turnitin, and other plagiarism checkers. Then we have procedure. Procedure is a step-by-step method of implementing policy or rule. So we look at stepwise processes for approving AI tools for teaching or for research. Like when I know some UK universities, some banned use of ChatGPT, but allow the use of Claude AI. Some are using ChatGPT, but a certain version of. So all these things, these are just stepwise process for approving AI tools for teaching and research. Then when we're looking at strategies, strategy is a long-term plan to achieve institutional objectives. So you can have a strategy, a plan where you have a university, a polytechnic, any higher educational institution where they have AI adoption strategy over 5 years. So maybe after that 5 years, they review or whatever. Then I mentioned framework. Framework is just a structural or conceptual organization. So AI governance framework you can have an AI governance framework showing committees, responsibilities, and oversight mechanisms. Now, policy does not operate in isolation. It has to function through a lot of things. Now, policy functions through approval, where we have the policy is endorsed by authoritative bodies like the Senate, governing councils, the VC, the rector, and all that. Then there has to be communication. Communication and the stakeholders involved have to communicate, have to have an understanding of how they see these things. So, and communication is among our stakeholders, staff, students, administrators, all the stakeholders are made aware of the policy. Now the implementation, where we have departments have to follow procedures aligned with the policy. Then monitoring and review, where performance and compliance are assessed and policies are updated periodically. I would like to give a relatable analogy. And the only thing I can think of is a control feedback loop, because, well, I'm a control engineer and that's about all that I know, but I will try to, even though I'll use the control feedback loop to give this analogy, I would like to make sense a bit. So we have the vice chancellor. The vice chancellor mostly will set visions and approve policies, right? Then the Senate assures academic standards. Yes, this is what we want academically. No, we have to 30% of whatever it is now, the Senate ensure academic standards. Now committees, they operate, if my network is unstable, they make sure they create rules. Then we have the stakeholders, the lecturers, where we are the ones that apply policies in teaching and research. Then students will provide feedback and comply with these policies. Now the feedback loop ensures policy is effective and adapted over time. If any of this loop is broken, for example, like if lecturers are unaware of AI disclosure rules, then AI integration becomes inconsistent and risky. Having understood the basics of policy, we now turn to governance, which is a concept that underpins how policy, including AI policies, function in Nigerian higher educational institutions. And governance answers the question, who decides? Who is responsible for what? How are decisions monitored and enforced? Now, as the World Bank notes in which of the publications AI notes in AI and Digital Governance Report in 2022, right? It says governance is public institution. Well, governance in public institutions is about decision making, It is about accountability and oversight. That is ensuring that organizational objectives are achieved effectively and responsibly. This sounds a lot like the UNESCO 2023 published it's been transcribed. Okay. It sounds a lot like the UNESCO 2023 quote I quoted at the beginning of this class. So governance is the system by which authority is exercised and decisions are made. Now, decisions will be made, decisions are implemented, and then they are monitored. Governance ensures that institutions achieve their objectives while maintaining transparency. So we're expecting to maintain transparency, which is one of the ethical considerations in AI usage. Now, in a Nigerian university, the Vice Chancellor, the VC, may set a broad vision for AI adoption. The Senate now ensures that teaching, learning, and assessment standards align with that vision, the VC's vision. The departmental committees will now make sure these rules are operating just fine. Who's there? Departmental committees will now make sure these rules are AI use or will operationalize AI use for courses or research projects, and the lecturers, administrators will apply AI policies daily, and students will follow these rules. Now, the feedback loop analogy is helpful because decision-making is by the VC and Senate approves policies. Implementation is done by committees and staff. Monitoring, reports, audits, and student feedback to the VC and Senate, which are being fed back to the VC and Senate, and we adjust these policies over time because of how it affects people and how AI evolution works. So policies are revised based on observed outcomes. This loop ensures continuous improvement and accountability. We can look at it from, let's say, maybe in our department, who makes decisions on teaching, who makes decisions on research, on assessments, and how does information flow back to the university leadership? How does information flow back to the university's leadership? And there are definitely gaps, and where does these gaps occur? It is essential also to differentiate, to distinguish governance from management. Now, governance. The purpose of governance is to set direction and oversight, while management normally implements decisions and daily operations. When we're looking at governance, the authority in governance are the Senate, the VC, governing councils, and all that. And the authority when it comes to management are the deans, heads of department, and administrative staffs. And the focus when it comes to governance is policy, accountability, and risks, while the focus in management are procedures, tasks, and outputs most of the time. So in the analogy we've been working with, when we're looking at governance, like if considering governance, so Senate approves AI policy on student assignments, and then the management, when it comes down to management, a lecturer or lecturers apply this AI policy by requiring students to declare AI assistance in their submissions. So without these distinctions, AI policies may fail. ICT teams alone cannot govern AI. They can only manage these tools. Like, we have to understand that. So, and Nigerian universities, Nigerian higher educational institutions have familiar governance structures that can be mapped to AI policy oversight. We mentioned the Governing Council, which provides strategic oversight. They ensure the university meets national standards. Then the Vice Chancellor or the Rector, they lead policy adoption and institutional directions. Senate ensures academic integrity. They approve curriculum and policies for teaching and research. Now, all the other committees, example, academic planning, Academic Affairs Committee, the ICT Committee, Research Ethics, all this, they make sure that these policies are operational. Now we look at there's the departmental teams who implement policies locally, and then they report issues or any gap or innovations. Now students and staff, they provide compliance and feedback, and they enable the feedback loop to continue. I think I've given an example, but I would like to give another one. So in an institution, if an institution plans to introduce AI-assisted grading, the Senate has to approve the concept. ICT and Academic Planning or Academic Affairs Committee will now, or the department will now implement the system, and the departmental teams will pilot it. Like they will have to start it somewhere. Now, feedback from lecturers and students informs adjustments. Whatever update these policies need, the feedback from lecturers and students will now inform these adjustments. And these adjustments are now reported back to the Senate for review. But in governance, we have to understand that there has to be accountability in governance, because accountability ensures that every actor knows their responsibilities and consequences. And for AI governance, example again, the rector, the vice chancellor, and the Senate are accountable for policy alignment with institutional mission. AI Governance Committee are accountable for risk management, tool approval, and reporting. And then lecturers are accountable for applying policies ethically in teaching and research. Students are accountable for responsible AI use. Take, for instance, a student who submits AI-generated content without disclosure, he clearly violates academic integrity. That's all we know. We don't have a policy in place. Now the lecturer has to enforce the policies that are in place, has to report to the departmental committee, and then that will escalate if necessary. And this creates a chain of accountability. Governance is also used as a control, I want to continue using this control system analogy. So if we're using that, I don't know, I hope there are management, engineering, and management-minded people. The input to our control systems, the policy goals, it is responsible AI. They implement those rules. And then the process of making sure this rule happens to be in place and all that is the teaching, research, administrative activities, the outcome, which is the ethical, and ensures that AI supports learning and research rather than. Now we'll look at AI governance framework. You understand governance in general structures the rules, the processes that ensure AI is used responsibly, ethically, and effectively within higher education institutions.
السلام عليكم. كاس النمو ده
Hello, doctor. The audio is not very stable. The radio,
Wannan
sorry,
kana
the audio is
phone call
the audio
nashi.
is not stable. Hello, doctor, are you around?
No, sir. Network. She's having network issues. She's locked
Ai
out
ba
now.
ita ba dai bane. This network ɗin nan matsala ce wallahi. Ni ma here I'm fighting. Ina ta faman me sunan shi from Zen to MPN. First one, we are very sorry, please. Let her sort out the glitches she's facing over there. But before that, as I said earlier on, from Saturday, the program is going to close for end of the year, so that we have ourselves the time to, especially our brothers and sisters, to enjoy the Christmas as well as the New Year, and also to have a space that will allow us to write our end of the program project. As you are aware, we have end of the year, end of the program project, which is carrying 600 marks, a very important aspect of the program. So from Saturday, we are going to close. No session till 7 or 8 of January 2026. Then the entire program is going to run up on Thursday, the 10th of January 2026. Then secondly, for those that join us lately, a window is going to be created within the space for the Christmas break. Okay, she's around. She's back. Doctor, go on.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, thank you.
That's Nigeria for us.
No, it's fine. The network is not on. Thank you.
Hey, and I'm also
Oh, my camera. Oh, I really apologize. The lights went off in the department, and somehow I lost power as well. I lost network.
Okay, there's no problem.
I'm not sure where I was because I've exhausted the slides that I have. I think we were talking about governance, right? What is good? What
Yes,
governance is.
yes.
So AI governance, I think we have mentioned, refers to the policies, the structures and processes an institution puts in place to manage the development, the deployment, and use of AI technologies. It basically ensures that AI supports institutional goals while avoiding risks such as bias that we talked about in the previous training. So it avoids risks such as bias risks. It avoids misuse, data breaches, or other threats to academic integrity. And according to UNESCO's guidance for generative AI in education and research, I think that is the 2022 2022, or is it 2023? I really can't remember. I read a lot of these things yesterday, so I'm not sure which one, but it's either 2022 or 2023. It says AI governance at an institutional level encompasses decision-making authority. That is who decides where and how AI is used. And then it also has accountability mechanism, which is who is responsible if AI goes wrong. Then the risk management, that's identifying and avoiding, preventing, and monitoring AI-related risks, such as, we mentioned that AI has a way of creating bias, either gender bias, economic bias, where students that can afford or students that have access and all of that, all this bias. Then it also encompasses ethical standards, which is ensuring fairness, ensuring transparency, and just basically respect for human rights. Now, if an institution wants to implement an AI-assisted grading, AI governance ensures that the who that approves this system, which is the Senate and the rector or the vice chancellor. Now, and then who trains lecturers and monitors outcomes. So we have to now create another committee, the AI governance committee. And then we have how biases are detected and corrected. Then how are students informed about AI use in their assessments? An effective AI governance framework will typically include around, is it 4 or 5 pillars? Sorry, 6 pillars. An effective AI governance framework has to have 6 pillars: the leadership and oversight, AI governance committee, policy guidelines, risk assessment and clarification, monitoring and reporting, then training and capacity building, which Nuhu Bamali you are there already. And I think we've mentioned from our last training that you attended a training, a capacity building on developing a framework, how to develop
Yes,
an AI framework, right?
exactly.
So like
Exactly.
Nuhu Bamali has taken the bull by the horn so far. So now these pillars, when we're talking about leadership and oversight, you look at governing councils, the VCs, the Senate, all this, they provide strategic direction and they approve high-risk AI projects. Now, the AI Governance Committee, which is a multidisciplinary committee, it has to have major stakeholders involved in this, and that is the academics, the ICT department, the legal unit, the data protection, all of this, it's because it has to be a multidisciplinary team, and they approve AI tools, they monitor the use of AI tools, and they review incidents. We also have to have another pillar that we have is the policy and guidelines. So AI use policies aligned with ethics. They use policies that are aligned with data protection, and they use policies that are aligned with academic integrity. Now, generative AI responsible use guidelines for students and staff. So are some of the things that we need to create. And another pillar, the next pillar is the risk assessment and classification. So we're looking at low risk AI use where lecture preparation, these are all low risk, honestly. Lecture preparation, simple research tools. You use AI for referencing, you use AI to generate lecture notes. You use AI not for grading. Grading is definitely not low risks. What have you. Then we are looking at the medium risks where you use AI assisted assessment design, not the carrying out the grading of the assessment itself, but the design. Then we look at administrative tools. These are all low risks, like the use of scheduling tools, and what have you. Then there are high risk AI tools. That is, if you're using automated grading. decisions when it comes to admissions. AI handle, like you give AI to handle sensitive personal data, maybe you upload student documents, student biodata, and all that to AI. This is really high risk because then you are running the risk of data breach, data protection, and I don't think that is something the Nigerian Data Protection Act will actually allows. Then the next pillar is monitoring and reporting, where we need to have periodic audits of AI use in teaching, in research, and in administration. And we have to have incident reporting mechanisms for AI misuse. And the training and capacity building have to have continuous education for all stakeholders. And then practical or responsible AI adoption is very helpful. And I will give you an example with the Nigerian higher educational institutions. So an institution implements an AI tool feedback. The AI governance committee reviews the feedback loop, shows adjustments, and they make sure adjustments are made, and if the AI introduces bias or errors. It looks like my network is gone again. I hope not. Am I still okay? I'm still online. Let's go. I'm still online, right? You can still hear me?
Yes, we're hearing.
For a
Yeah,
minute, I thought
Doctor,
it's
we're with you.
okay. Okay.
We're with you.
Okay. So, effective governance clarifies who is responsible for what. Like the VC, the highest leadership, the VC, the rectors, the Senate, they approve policies. Governance committee will evaluate AI tools, monitor compliance, recommend policy updates. Departments, heads, deans, and all that implement policies at faculty and departmental level. Then the staffs apply AI tools responsibly in teaching, in research, and in administration. Then the students will comply with responsible use guidelines, and they report issues if there is any.
583957.
Now, risk classification and oversight. We have to understand that not all AI use carries the same risks. Institutions they should classify AI applications into low, medium, and high risk, guiding oversights accordingly. We've mentioned low risk AI use, which tools that are used for note taking, it's low risk, like lecture slides, it's low risk, and basic data analysis. These are just minimal, they just need a very minimal oversight. Then medium risks, AI assisted grading suggestions, plagiarism detection tools, and all that. This require departmental approval and periodic monitoring. Then we have the high risk AI, and these are automated systems, like maybe automated admission decision, AI grading, which affects final results, system handling, personal or sensitive data. This require formal Senate approval, and it requires comprehensive risk assessment and AI governance committee oversight. If a student's final grade is determined by AI, this is high risk. The AI governance framework will ensure a human in the loop. That is, there will be regular audits and transparency in grading processes. Governance is not static. AI tools and risks evolve, so the governance framework must include feedback loops. The feedback loops, the monitoring, the reporting, evaluation, policy revision, and all that. So an AI plagiarism detection tool will flag false positives. Lecturers report incidents to the committee, and then policy is adjusted. And then training is provided, and thresholds or procedures are refined. Having discussed governance frameworks, the next critical dimension is ethics. This ethical AI adoption ensures that AI tools are used in ways that protect students, in ways that it supports learning, it upholds academic integrity and respects rights. And we have talked about responsible AI use. We've talked about the principle of ethical AI. Well, not necessarily AI in administration in whatever, but we have talked about how ethics is central to AI adoption. It safeguards integrity, trusts, and fairness, and responsible AI use requires human oversight, transparency, and accountability. We've also talked and policies must integrate principles of teaching, research, and administration. We need monitoring, we need reporting, and continuous improvements are essential to enforce ethical use. And AI tools must comply with Nigerian laws, especially the Data Protection Act. That I don't think we have talked about, but if we are developing a framework, if we're developing a policy, we really need to be familiar with the Nigerian Data Protection Act. That Data Protection Act that was drafted in 2023 and it was passed. So up to this point, we have discussed policy, governance, AI frameworks, ethical principles in general terms. I'm still including what we did from Tuesday. Now we need to contextualize these concepts to the Nigerian higher educational institutions. The Nigerian Data Protection Act is cornerstone of data protection. So it establishes rules for collection, storage, and processing of personal data, consent requirements for data subjects, data security and breach reporting, penalties for non-compliance. And so while global frameworks are useful, Nigerian universities, Nigerian higher educational institutions, they face specific challenges like limited resources, or even digital literacy. As lecturers or like staffs and students have varied levels of familiarity with AI tools. And then we have high workloads for our staffs and regulatory oversights. This is where institutions are accountable to the NUC, and NUC provides guidance but does not always cover AI-specific scenarios. When adopting AI governance frameworks to Nigeria, we have to consider leadership alignment, so we ensure that EC and Senate endorse AI policies. We have to ensure committee structures, that existing committees can take on AI oversight rules, and then stakeholders must be consulted to ensure feasibility. And then we have to ensure legal compliance. Considerations, basically cultural operate within cultural and social norms that influence AI adoption. When we are talking about cultural and social norms, we have to understand that policies that work in Europe will not work in Nigerian higher education institutions. Policies that work in, say, King Fahad University will not work in ABU. All these are considerations we have to put into place. Although, like, we also have to, there are the cultural and social norms that influence AI adoption. We have we have to respect hierarchy, that policy decisions need very clear and leadership. Then faculties and departmental input will increase the legitimacy of equity considerations. Like AI tools, they account for socioeconomic diversity among students, because otherwise we will encourage AI bias. Then we have to be able to bridge global standards and local contexts. What I'm trying to say is to ensure policies are globally aligned and then locally relevant. We have to use international guidance as a baseline. And we already have this international guidance. We have UNESCO. There is a baseline guidance already in place. The World Bank, AI ethics frameworks, it is there all over the place, especially UNESCO. When you go on UNESCO's website and look for resources, you get all of this. So we have to use institutional guidance as a benchmark. Then we have to adapt to the legal requirements. That is the NDPA and Data Protection Act, NUC regulations. We have to adapt to this. Then we have to consider institutional capacity, our ICT infrastructure, the staff skills, budget constraints. These are all considerations we need to make. Then we have to engage stakeholders in policy development and training. Then we need to iterate policies as AI technologies evolve. An example is, look at AI. If you have an AI plagiarism detection that aligns with UNESCO principles of academic integrity. So they must be adapted to, despite the fact that they align with UNESCO's principles of academic integrity, they still have to adapt to NDPA rules, student data protection, and it also has to fit into the bandwidth limitations in the institution. So, or the bandwidth limitations in Nigeria, actually the bandwidth limitation in the institution. So we have to in summary, what we are saying is Nigerian higher education institutions must comply with the Data Protection Act. Policies must reflect institutional realities. Existing governance structures can and should leverage for AI oversight, but they also require dedicated committees. Cultural and social norms definitely influence policy acceptance and its effectiveness. And then we have to use global standards as baselines. They must be adapted to local context for practical compliance. We cannot just take the policies and say we'll use it. So we have to make sure there is an adaptation for our local context. We've looked at policy, we've looked at governance, AI frameworks, ethics, and all of that. So before developing AI policies and before assessing institutions' current situation, which is the AI readiness, infrastructure, human capacity, the policy gaps, and all of policy objectives should always clearly articulate what the policy aims to achieve. Now we're looking at developing the framework, right? So our policy objectives always have to look at what the policy aims to achieve. An example for AI policy objectives, we have to ensure responsible, transparent, and ethical use of AI in teaching. We have to look at it in research and administration. We have to protect students and staff data in compliance with the NDPA 2023 Act. Have to facilitate or foster innovation while maintaining academic integrity. And then we need to establish clear accountability and reporting mechanisms. Policy development should be inclusive. It should involve leadership committees, stakeholders, the lecturers and researchers, students, administrative staffs. And including the following sections in an AI policy will actually be very good. That is the purpose and scope. We have to define what the policy covers. Teaching, research, administration. We have to include definitions. This is just to clarify terms like AI, generative AI, disclosure, and governance. We also have to have roles and responsibilities. We map the VC, Senate, committee, lecturers, students, and IT staff. We have to have ethical principles, that's transparency, fairness, accountability, data privacy. We have to have, it also has to have usage guidelines where where it mentions what is allowed, what is prohibited, and what is recommended. Then we have to have compliance and monitoring. That's reporting channels, audits, review mechanisms, then the training requirements, capacity building trainings for stakeholders. Then there has to be a consistent review update. Once the policy is developed, Senate or governing body endorsement will approve. Communication is now like the policy will be shared through emails, notice boards, and LMS. This is to ensure communication and everybody knows about this. Then there has to be training. We conduct sessions for all stakeholders on policy and responsible AI use. Then the monitoring, periodic audits, feedback mechanism, and incident reporting. Then revise policy based on feedback, technological changes, or legal updates. To facilitate practical adoption, you have to provide a governance checklist, that is list of committees, approval steps, and oversight responsibilities. We need to have ethical AI guidelines, that's clear principles and do's and don'ts for lecturers and students. The incident reporting form for misuse or ethical violation, and then policy templates, that's standard sections that can be adapted by departments. Policies will only succeed if people understand and apply them. Let's understand this. Policies can only succeed if people understand them and if people are able to apply them. Strategies to ensure understanding and application of workshops just have to be for students that are strictly field or anything. Everybody has to take AI ethics modules in there, every student. So from I think we are coming to the end of this session. So, but it is important to what is the word? To consolidate everything we have covered. So the goal of this training is to equip us, lecturers, and everybody with the knowledge, the tools, and develop and implement and policy basics and definitions, where we mentioned policies provide structured guidance. They are different from rules, regulations, and guidelines, and understanding the purpose, the scope, and function of policies is fundamental to institutional governance. Governance also, we've mentioned governance defines who decides, who implements, and who is accountable. And in our higher educational institutions, we already have structured hierarchies. That's the governing council, the VC, Senate, blah, blah, blah. So feedback loops, feedback structures always ensure continuous improvement and accountability. And we've also looked at AI governance framework, where we mentioned AI governance ensures responsible and ethical use of AI tools. And the key components are leadership, AI governance committees, policies, risk assessment, monitoring and training, risk classification, etc. Now, the ethical AI adoption guidelines, this is something we did on Tuesday, but we mentioned responsible AI use is guided by transparency, it's guided by fairness, human oversight, accountability, and inclusion. And policies must cover teaching, they must cover research and administration, and monitoring and reporting, continuous monitoring, continuous reporting and revisions of these policies are essential. Now, in the Nigerian specific context, policies must comply with Nigerian Data Protection Act and all NUC regulations. It must consider institutional realities. It must consider resources constraints, cultural norms, and all that. And then we have to use global frameworks as baseline to develop our own frameworks. Basically, global frameworks must be adopted locally. And the practical implementation tips for all of this, we have to conduct institutional assessment. We have to define clear objectives. We have to engage stakeholders inclusively in development of policies. Then we have to develop policy content with sections on ethics, on responsibilities, on usage, on monitoring and review. Then we need to implement training. We need communication. We need monitoring. Then we have to build capacity continuously to ensure sustainability. To put this into practice in your institutions, we need to reinforce some actionable steps. So we have to form an AI governance committee. This has to be inclusive of leadership, all other teams, ICT, legal, ethics, academics, and all of that. We have to develop an AI policy using clear sections, ethical principles, and the Nigerian Data Protection Act compliance. We have to classify AI risks into low, medium, high risk. This is to and this adjusts of oversight accordingly. We have to engage stakeholders, lecturers, administrators, and students, and we have to communicate and train our stakeholders. We have to monitor and we have to review. Beyond policies and governance structures, beyond policies and governance structures, the culture of your institution actually matters. So we have to encourage transparency in AI-assisted teaching, research, and administration. We need to reward ethical use of AI and innovation. We have open channels for reporting, and we need to foster awareness among students and everyone. I think with this, I'll be the training will come. I will be done. This is just my final reflections. Me too. The AI is a powerful tool that can enhance teaching. It enhances learning, it enhances research, and it enhances every aspect of our work. But without governance, without policies, and without ethics, it can only create risks and it will perpetuate inequalities. As leaders, as lecturers, as administrators, our role is to translate theories into practice. And then we need to build structures that ensure AI supports our institution's mission. Then again, we need to monitor, we need to review, and we need to continuously improve policies as AI evolves, because AI is evolving. Every month you hear about a new version of AI. So thank you for participating, and with the knowledge, with the framework and practical tools we now have, I hope we are equipped enough to lead AI adoption responsibly and ethically in our institutions. And remember, policy, governance, and ethics are not just documents. They are living processes. So policies, governance, and ethics are living processes that evolve with technology and institutional needs. So thank you very much for having me. And I hope
Go on.
I hope we've learned a thing or two and we'll be able to develop our own institutional policies. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doctor, for this elaborate and well presented session. Okay, so thank you very much once again.
Thank you, sir.
for taking your time to be with us and to take us through this very, very important component of AI implementation in our various institutions, organizations, and even our community. Because in this advocacy, next step as far as the career service is to engage the community, not academia, but the real people in town, because they need to be carried along, because this AI is all encompassing. It means it's touching almost everybody's life. In the next few 1-2 years, you will find that everybody needs this knowledge of AI to survive in this era. So thank you very much for having the time and taking your time to give us all this. So though we have some few minutes, please, if you have any questions to Doctor, you can write and you can even raise up your hand and ask questions. Okay, please, is there any questions? We are running out of time. Questions? Before them, Doctor, they have been asking about the soft copy of your last Tuesday presentation. I see
Sorry.
them asking. So they have been asking for it. I kept quiet, believing that you have seen the request. Maybe you are not in the good situation to forward the document. That is why the delay. Yes, please, if you have a question to Doctor, please. Judy, any questions?
No questions, sir. Thank you for the presentation, ma.
Malama Mimuna,
Yes, sir. I enjoyed your presentation.
thank you very much. Ma'am Bashir. Malama Saratu, do you have a question?
No, sir. Only the soft copy of the previous lecture.
Okay.
I
Okay,
think
that is good.
I uploaded it to the group just now.
Okay, ma.
Okay,
Okay.
so thank
We
you
have
very
the
much.
test tomorrow by 5, by 4:30.
How 4:30? Why are you shifting it? You want some people to come and kidnap me?
It's 4:30,
No,
sir.
no, I will not speak that you will wait for her patiently back. Thank you very much, sir. Glad.
Thank you very much, Kadir. Malama Sadia, any questions? I didn't see Malama Amina. Mala Yahuza, any questions? The chief surveyor of the nation or the federation. Mala Nura, any questions? So I can see today you have make everything simple or simpler for our participants. As usual, we are expecting each and every participant to apply what he or she have learned during the seminar sessions in our either the end of the week quiz or the practical assignment. I believe you have some materials that you're going to use to conclude your assignment for week 3. Doctor has touched some of these areas. She has given us some of these materials. Well, I have Hamza Abdul Aziz is asking, please directed the recording to help us much in viewing again, most when things are not clear enough. Well, we have been doing so, but as I said, we are trying to encourage people to be in the live sessions. That is why we initially I said we are not going to be sharing till maybe after the program entirely. But after considerations, we saw the needs. But we normally upload them in our YouTube channel. So you can go to our YouTube channel. But you know, we have also engagement. So it's not going to be immediately after the session that we are going to upload. We have to do some work before we upload such materials. But even this one, inshallah, is going to be posted in our YouTube channel, inshallah. But I'm not saying today or tomorrow, but we are going to upload it, inshallah. I can see that we don't have much questions. So thank you very much, Dr. once again, for having time to be with us despite your tight schedule. And to our participants, as a reminder, our quiz, end of the week quiz, that is week 3, is coming up tomorrow by 4:30 to 5, inshallah. The normal 25 questions, and then the normal 100 marks to grab. Our Saturday is going to be the deadline for the submission of 3 practical assignments by 12 midnight, inshallah, as well. And then from there, we are going to embark on end of the year vacation, or I can say, well, of course, semi or partial, because we expect participants to use the time to do their end of the program or end of the training project, which inshallah the template is going to be forwarded to us as soon as possible. So thank you very much, Doctor, for being with us. We quite appreciate. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increase you in wealth and health and the wisdom to continue advocating or advancing the frontier of this AI knowledge. And to all our participants, thank you very much. To meet tomorrow by 4:30. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.